Hello and welcome to my channel. Here we like to take the fool's journey and we clamber towards truth. All right, with that being said, just know once you know this information, you can't really go back. So viewer discretion is advised. And I like to start off these kind of like videos with a little saying that I wrote down in like Norwegian. So far, this one and the last one, they both came from the same series off of Netflix. If you can tell me what it is and let me know, I'll give you some credit. All right, this is Doden handler ikke bare om ligaments og delegelse. Noen ganger sluker man sjoget sitt og et annet blir fot. Men alle fødsler er fordelige, og det er ingen død uten smerte. And that is, death is not just about the destruction of the body. Sometimes one extinguishes oneself and another is born. But all births are violent, and there is no death without pain. All right, I'm going to read that one more time because I might have messed it up the first time. All right. Doden handler ikke bare om ligaments og delegelse. Noen ganger sluker man sjoget sitt, og et annet blir fot. Men alle fødsler er voldelige, og det er ingen død uten smerte. All right, I might have messed it up that time too, but you get what you get. All right, today we are going to be going over Theodicy, not Theosophy. Theodicy is the presence of good in the face of evil. Theosophy is the appearance of God in form. So Theodicy, not Theophacy. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and get set up. Give me a moment. All right, I am back. Again, sorry about my setup. It's not the best, but you can still see what I'm talking about. I wrote it all out for you. I got some Latin in this one. We are still going to be covering a little bit of the Kabbalah and other Sufism and some Greek or Stoicism. All right, so like I said, Theodicy is the theological and philosophical attempt to reconcile the existence of an all-powerful God who is all good as well, and with the presence of evil and suffering in the world. All right, I got some theories written out right here that I'm just going to read off. The Augustine Theodicy, which is free will, argues that evil entered the world through the misuse of free will by humans and angels, not by God. So that's a very distinct distinction, because God didn't bring evil. It was our own doing. So that's not that hard to get behind, like, makes sense. Next one is the Iranian Theodicy, which is soul making. Suggests that suffering is necessary for human spiritual growth and development, allowing for transition from human beings to children of God. The best of all possible worlds, the Lebanese argued that for a world to have free will and beauty, some evil must exist, making this the best possible configuration. All right, those are only like the three that I actually looked at for a little bit. I'm sure that there's plenty more, but critics often argue that theodicies often fail to adequately address or minimize the intense suffering of individuals. Well, if it's us doing it, how's a theory going to alleviate it? We got to do it ourselves, right? Like, let's be honest. All right. Anyways, pretty sure you're wondering how to say the Latin phrases. So this one, premeditatio malorum. Again, that is premeditatio malorum. And that's just premeditation of evil. This is a Stoic practice of proactively imagining potential failure, misfortunes, or such as illness or failure. Let me reread that. I am so sorry. All right. Premeditatio malorum is a Stoic practice of proactively imagining potential future misfortunes, such as loss, illness, or failure, to build emotional resilience and reduce anxiety. By mentally rehearsing the worst case scenarios, Stoics sought to eliminate the shock of adversity, ensuring they were prepared to respond with wisdom rather than fear. This technique allows practitioners to accept the inevitability of change and hardship, fostering a sense of control over their internal reactions, even if they can't control their external events. Next Latin phrase that I have is Praecogitati mollis ictus venit. Again, Praecogitati mollis ictus venit. And here that just says, if an evil has been pondered beforehand, the blow is gentle when it comes. But the actual translation is, a soft blow came upon premeditated evil. All right, that's still with Stoicism. All right, next I have is Vipassana. And this means to see things as they really are. Let me start scrolling down a little bit. Oh, that's not that good. Oop, might have to bear with me. I am sorry. All right, it's a little angled. Hopefully you guys can see that all right. Yeah. All right, yeah, right here. Vipassana, to see things as they really are. This was rediscovered by Buddha. This meditation technique is a non-sectarian art of living to eliminate mental impurities. It focuses on observing bodily sensations to cultivate inner awareness, equanimity, and understanding of impermanence. The goal is to eradicate mental impurities and achieve full liberation through self-transformation and self-observation. All right, next up is Titiksha. Titiksha is the patient endurance of suffering. In Vedanta philosophy, it is the bearing with indifference all opposites. So pleasure, pain, reward, punishment, and fame and obscurity. Being entirely responsible for encroachment or reproach for one's own personal behavior, past behavior, the frame of mind, and esteem. It is one of the 6 qualities beginning with sama, the repression, alleviating, or release of the inward sense called manas. Another quality is dhamma, the renunciation of behaviors or utilizing self-control with moderation, with correct discrimination and without aversion. Shankara defines titiksha as endurance of all afflictions without countering aids and without anxiety or lament is said to be titiksha. Next one is dukkha. Dukkha is a central Buddhist concept often translated as suffering, but more accurately means profound unsatisfactoriness, discontentment, or stress. It represents the inherent instability of life, physical pain, emotional distress, and impermanence of all conditioned things. This is the first of the 4 noble truths. And as you can see, hopefully you can see all right, it's split up into 3 different dukkhas. So the first one is dukkha, which is pain, ordinary physical and emotional suffering. Next up is viparinama dukkha, which is change, suffering caused by impermanence, such as the anxiety of losing pleasure or stability. Lastly is sankhara dukkha, which is conditioned existence, the deeper existential dissatisfaction of life, arising from attachment and the lack of a permanent self. All dukkha arise from attachment and craving and clinging to transient things. The aim of Buddhist practice is to understand and overcome dukkha to reach nirvana. All right, I'm back. I switch up boards. I know there's a lot going on this board, but once I actually get at it, it's actually not that much. and everything will make sense. It goes in a perfect, nice little system. All right. I know that's kind of hard to believe off of looks, but stay faithful. All right. And I forgot I made some cards. If you want to know what dukkha, that's how you spell it in Sanskrit. Dukkha. And next up, druj. Starting up in the top corner. All right. So druj is the fundamental principle of chaos, deception, and wickedness in Zoroastrianism. Well, can I say that? Acting as the direct antithesis to Asha, which is truth, order, and righteousness. Meaning of druj is the lie or falsehood, representing the destructive force of Ahriman and guides evil, greedy, and envious actions, represents the moral and cosmic disorder that plagues the world. Druj encompasses not just lies, but all forms of corruption, including social disorder and dishonesty. And I want to apologize that I did forget to say this whole part of the Theodicy is focusing on the evil aspect, because we can't really see the good if we don't know the evil. So I did do this one first, and I will have to make another video for the good aspects of life. Okay, so please don't be upset with me, but it's better to do it that way. Otherwise, you may not understand what I want to try to portray to you guys. Okay. With that being said, since druj is the falsehood, now we're going to be moving down towards the evils. All right, so we're going to start making our way down. Boom, and then back up and around, down, and up. All right. Guess I could explain that beforehand, but you guys got it now. Anyways, so for the evil, we have the anti-miman pneuma. The anti-miman pneuma is considered the counterfeit spirit. Anti-miman pneuma is a Gnostic concept referring to a malicious force that imitates the divine to mislead, invert truth into falsehood, and promote forgetfulness. It is described as a counterfeit spirit or ungodly intellect that acts as a negative counterpart to the true divine spirit, often causing psychological and spiritual disruption. In the Apocryphon of John, describes it as a spirit that leads individuals astray. Carl Jung also uses it. He used the term to represent the shadow of the divine or the antichrist force that can arise within individuals as a form of self-deification, particularly when the conscious mind fails to integrate the unconscious, leading to a demon of opinion. The anti-miman pneuma represents the internal and external forces of deception that hinder self-realization and spiritual liberation. Next up, we have the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara in Judaism refers to the tendency within humans to do wrong or evil, so the evil inclination. The Yetzer Hara represents the innate drive within individuals to pursue selfish desire, pleasures, and material possessions, which can lead to negative actions and behaviors if not properly controlled. It is important to note that the Yetzer Hara is not seen as inherently evil, but rather as a natural part of human nature. The Yetzer Hara is often personified as a force that tempts individuals to sin and is seen as a constant struggle for those seeking to live a righteous life. Alright, I did end up putting antinomos right here. That's Greek antinomos, which is against law. Antinomos, or antinomianism, derived from Greek. It is the theological belief that Christians are freed by grace from the obligation of obeying any moral law, including the Ten Commandments, often leading to a license to sin. It argues that faith alone is necessary for salvation, rendering moral codes and behavioral rules unnecessary, suggesting that because believers are under divine grace rather than the Mosaic law, they are not obligated to follow ethical or moral laws. And you see why that's in the evil? Yeah. Apparently, a lot of people think that's all they really have to say, and then they're freed from all kind of sins. And this is Kyrie iso Christa, yie tu Theo, eleison me. And that means, Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me. So let me read that one more time for you guys. Kyrie iso Christa, yie tu Theo, eleison me. And again, that means, Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me. All right, now, since we already moved down, we're kind of moving our way back up, hitting up this guy. All right. This guy is the Irvine. The Irvine is Avestan for soul. Refers to the immortal human spirit that journeys through the material world to fight against evil. So he journeys through Druj to fight against evil. And uphold righteousness, which is Asha. The Irvine is the conscious, free-willed part of the individual distinct from the guardian spirit, Farvashi. Again, Farvashi is going to be in the next video, along with Yeser Hatov, which is the opposite of Dahara. So Farvashi is the guiding spirit of Irvine, which helps guide him through Druj. Anyways, the Irvine is responsible for its choices and ultimately determining its fate in the afterlife. While the Irvine can be corrupted or weakened by evil, the Farvashi is an incorruptible guardian spirit that offers guidance. At death, the Irvine departs from the body and is judged, eventually reuniting with its Farvashi on the fourth day. The Irvine is the individual moral agent traversing life, responsible for its own spiritual evolution under the protection of the Farvashi. And what we got around the Farvashi, I have as the Klipot, husks or shell. Singular is a klippa. So these are metaphysical barriers between ourselves and the light of the Creator that we ourselves have created through our own selfish actions. They are what keep us from receiving all the blessings that are meant for us, or from feeling happy, certain, or fulfilled all of the time. As long as these shells cover us, we cannot attain the spiritual level that we came to this world to achieve. Kabbalah teaches that our pure, perfected self already exists. It is just covered by these invisible shells, producing an effect similar to that of a curtain placed over a lamp. I do have the three gunas kind of marking around the shell too, because everything in the universe is a combination of these three sattva, rajas, and tamas, with one often dominating. They govern our thoughts, behaviors, and physical states. So pretty much they help control what our reality is. And then I also have the Bindu chakra, the assemblage point, and the Ming-Men point. All right, so it's all within the shell. So the Bindu chakra, I went over this in my last video, so I'm not really going to go over this one too much. Is frequently considered a point of oneness from which all creation originates. Associated with the pineal gland, it enhances intuition, inner perception, and consciousness. Now to move down to the assemblage point. The assemblage point acts as a filler for energy, determining which emanations of spirit a person perceives, thereby creating their reality, popularized by Carlos Castaneda. Position in most people is located on the upper back, about 20 centimeters behind the right shoulder blade. It's a concentrated vortex of energy within the human energy field, or aura. It's referred to as the first attention when the point is habitually fixed in one spot, which keeps individuals focused on the ordinary consensus reality. Meaning, if they never try to adjust where their assemblage point is, and it's right in the same spot, you're going to see the same reality as everyone else that hasn't changed it. So it's like the base setting for your assemblage point. All right, and then in summary, the assemblage point is considered the nexus where our energy body connects to our physical body, governing how we experience ourselves and the world. All right. Lastly is the Ming Men point. The Ming Men point is the gate of life. It is a vital acupuncture point on the lower back opposite the navel, serving as a central hub for original qi, kidney yang, and in many traditions, the seat of vitality and spiritual destiny. It is considered the gateway to understanding one's true purpose or destiny. The Ming Men acts as a meeting point where kidney yin and yang, water and fire, blend, ensuring the body's internal energy remains balanced. As it strengthens kidney energy, it helps reduce fear and emotional disturbances. In TCM, or traditional Chinese medicine, the Ming Men supports the heart, which houses the consciousness, Shen. A strong Ming Men leads to calm, focused, and secure spirit. 21:12 on the clock. I do have to pause and run a quick errand, so I will be back. I'm back. I'm sorry, I had to help old people in the house. Okay, so last part I did cover was the Ming Men. All right, now we are moving towards the Sitra Achra. All right, so the Sitra Achra is the other side. It is a Kabbalistic term representing the realm of evil, impurity, and opposition to holiness. The Sitra Achra refers to forces of disconnection from God, which are Klipot or shells. So these things are part of the Sitra Achra. All right. All negative actions, thoughts, and prohibitions in the Torah are derived from this side, often referred to as a hinder part of the divine light, far removed from source. Often interpreted as the internal evil inclination or the other side of the human psyche, which can disguise selfish desires as virtues. It is considered a necessary, often temporary, force in creation that challenges humanity to choose good or evil. The goal is to resist the Sitra Achra and, where possible, elevate the holy sparks within it through righteous action. Apologies. Moving right across the top. All right, so we go to Gurdjieff's The Terror of the Situation. This refers to the stark, shocking realization that human beings are not truly awake, but living as sleepwalking, mechanical machines driven by external forces. Humans are for the most part, acting on automatic, I don't understand why I can't speak right now. Let me start this whole one over. Humans are, for the most part, acting on automatic impulses, habits, and reactions rather than conscious choices. People believe they are awake, but are actually in a state of hypnotic waking sleep. A core aspect of this awareness is constantly sensing the reality of one's own mortality and the mortality of others. Facing this terror is a necessary for the awakening process and to stop wasting life's spiritual currency, attention, on mechanical, trivial things. To escape this state, one must endure conscious suffering to break through self-protective buffers. Down to Helix or Helicos. Helicos refers to the lowest, most materialistic level of human existence in Gnostic philosophy. Anchored in material existence, entirely immersed in the physical world, sensory pleasures, and worldly concerns. Helix are spiritually blind, unaware of deeper realities, living a reactive life driven by survival instincts. Represents a state of total immersion in the material world, sometimes referred to as sarkic, which is fleshy or earthy. Samskaras, I covered in my last video, but samskaras and vasanas fit very nicely here. So samskaras are deep subconscious impressions, habits, and mental conditioning formed by past actions, experiences, and thoughts, acting as the basis for behavioral patterns and karma. They are grooves in the mind, or chitta, that influences desires and actions similar to memory or subconscious tendencies. They are considered to be carried across lifetimes. Samskaras are categorized as either driving externalized consciousness, worldly action, or causing the cessation of mental processes, spiritual growth. Now, vasanas. Vasanas are deep-seated subconscious mental impressions or latent tendencies formed by past actions, experiences, and desires. As hidden drivers of human behavior, they function as habits or predispositions that influence thoughts, emotions, and actions. Vasanas dictate how people react to situations, often acting automatically, such as reacting with fear, anger, or love, based on conditioning. Vasana is often described as a wave in the mind lake, a subtle force that shapes the personality and drives the individual to seek pleasure in the material world. In Indian philosophy, they act as the root cause of desires and personal tendencies, trapping the individual in a cycle of karma and rebirth. The next one that you guys probably haven't heard of anyways is delta false B. All right. Delta false B is a highly stable transcription factor that accumulates in the brain's reward center, the nucleus accumbens, following chronic stress, natural rewards, or drug abuse. Delta false B acts in the D1 type medium spiny neurons, altering neural circuitry and strengthening behavioral responses to stimuli. Acting as a molecular switch, it drives long-lasting addiction-related changes in gene expression and behavior for weeks, even after exposure stops. Chronic stress induces delta false B, where it plays a role in adapting to our coping with environmental pressures. Delta false B also accumulates in response to intense natural rewards, including sucrose, exercise, and sexual behavior. It is considered a master switch for addiction, increasing sensitivity to drugs and promoting compulsive drug-seeking behavior. Delta false B is heavily connected to Parkinson's disease, specifically as a key molecular driver of L-DOPA-induced dyskinesia, or LID for short. Delta false B accumulates in the striatum, where it acts as a transcription factor, triggering abnormal involuntary movements. So if you have a lot of habitual tendencies, you might want to check them and try to break them, because if not, there might be a chance that you may lead into some worse off brain states, let's say. I'm not going to really say that you might just end up having Parkinson's, because that's kind of messed up. But especially delta false B, it makes treatment for Parkinson's a lot harder too. Again, they stay for like weeks even after any kind of exposure. Going on down to the continuing hypothesis. This one just suggests that waking life and dreams are connected, meaning that dream content is influenced by and reflects the dreamer's waking thoughts, concerns, and expressions. It proposes that dreams are not random, but rather serve to stimulate and process aspects of waking life, including emotional salient events and interpersonal experiences, potentially serving functions like emotional regulation, memory consolidation, and learning. The reason why I put the continuity hypothesis is because no matter what through your waking life and all this evil, you're still producing the same stuff in your dreams, especially if you're not fixing the core issue, and that's your natural tendencies or your behavioral aspects that you don't want to admit that are wrong. Anyways, the reason why I did do that is because of the louche. All right, louche is a concept popularized by Robert Monroe. All right, real quick on Robert Monroe. He also created the Gateway Project, which is pretty much helps you expand your consciousness and contact extraterrestrial beings that are outside of our density, meaning we're just light beings trapped in a vessel, and you can contact other beings. The CIA actually recruited him or did whatever, and then kind of was studying under the Gateway Project for like years before they finally released it to the public. Anyways, louche is a metaphysical term for emotional energy, fear, pain, love, generated by humans and which is harvested by non-physical entities. It represents a food source for these beings, often tied to intense negative human experiences. And that's why all of that is here on the Delta False B side, because habits and everything produce loosh. So your samskaras, vasanas, produce the loosh and feed extraterrestrials, or whatever you want to call them. Now we're moving on to the Klipot, the tree of death. We're going to start down here on 10 because in the tree of death, this is how you make your way back up. Real quick, I will go through each one. But when I do read them, I'm going to read from bottom up, and I'm going to give you pretty much what they are. So 1 is Thaumiel, Gagiel, Satariel, Gaag Shabla, Golachab, Thagirion, Arab Zarak, Samael, Gamaliel, and Lilith. And then Da'at or Da'at, same spot as the Tree of Life. Anyways, the Tree of Life, or the Tree of Death, is a Kabbalistic design or a diagram representing the Klipot, which are the 10 dark impure counterparts or shells of the Holy Sephiroth on the Tree of Life. It signifies demonic forces, chaos, and the other side, or the Sitra Achra, often used in occultism to represent demonic realms or hellish spheres. Now, the 10 spheres of the Tree of Death, like I said, I'm going to start from the bottom, is Lilith, so night and darkness, the opposite of Malkuth, kingdom, represents the corrupted material world, a void of darkness, sterility, or dark matter. Now we move up to Gamaliel, which is the obscene or abortion. It's the opposite of Yesod, which is foundation. Represents perverted reproduction, lust, and corrupted emotional foundations. Samael, I don't know why I can't really say that name right now. Samael is desolation or false god, the opposite of Hod, which is glory and splendor. Represents false communication, lies, and the desolation of intellectual honesty. Arab Zarak, ravens of dispersion, the opposite of Netzach, which is victory. It represents the breaking down of endurance into chaos and erratic action. The Gurion, limbo or dispute, the opposite of Tiferet, which is beauty, symbolizes the failure of harmony resulting in apathy, decay, or self-centered darkness. Golachab is incendiary bodies or burning, the opposite of Gavura, which is strength, represents unchecked burning rage, tyranny, and raw, unrestrained force. Now 4 is Ga'ash Shabla, or you could also know it as Ga'ash Kala, which is destruction or destructive forces. Opposite of Jasad is kindness, represents the perversion of mercy, often turning love into destruction, obsession. And then Satariel. Satariel is the concealer or falsehood, the opposite of Binna, which is understanding. It conceals the truth, creating barriers to understanding and illusion. Gagiel, obstructors, confusion. The opposite of Chokmah, which is wisdom, represents the distortion of wisdom, fostering falsehoods and mental chaos. Lastly, Thaumiel, which is split god or dual force, the opposite of Keter, crown, signifies chaos, confusion, and the breaking of divine unity, often depicted as two-headed entities. All right, I know I didn't really say anything about Da'at or Dath. This is the best time to really cover that, because when you go from Ka'akshabla to Satariel, and you cross over the abyss. This is what this means, all right? Crossing the abyss is the act of crossing from the conscious, structured ego into a realm of chaos. The abyss is guarded by Choronzon, a demon who represents the scattering and fragmentation of the ego. The adept seeks to cross this not merely as a battle, but as a poison of the serpent. Initiation, where the ego is dissolved and rebuilt, potentially becoming a master of the temple. This requires the total dissolution of personal identity and the breaking up of the mind's illusions. Unlike the right side, holiness, this path is about gaining knowledge through confronting the shadow or the alien essence. All right, that's the tree of life, or tree of death again, I'm sorry. Now coming down here, see, already almost done with the whole board. Only took about 36 minutes, right on the dot. For Shekinah, I did do this in my last video as well, but Shekinah, through all this evil, represents the divine feminine aspect of God, symbolizing the imminent dwelling presence of the divine within the world. Shekinah acts as a nurturing relational bridge between the infinite creator and creation, often accompanying and guiding the process of redemption. The Shekinah is believed to share in the suffering of humanity, accompanying them in exile and working to reclaim sparks of divinity from darkness. She is associated with nurturing, protection, compassion, and healing. And you wonder how she might help you? Well, I didn't write this one, but it is the Tantric path. All right. The Tantric path is an ancient Indian esoteric spiritual tradition focused on weaving together physical and spiritual energies to achieve rapid enlightenment, or in one's lifetime. Unlike paths that renounce the world, Tantra views the material world and its sensations as sacred and as a means to reach higher consciousness. It uses rituals, meditations, and yoga to transform everyday life, energy into divine consciousness. It is a holistic, world-affirming approach that often uses the body and its senses as a path to liberation. Tantra is ultimately a practical path that emphasizes experiencing divine consciousness rather than just studying it. The last little one I have to read is Apasmara, with a little snake going around it. And this is why I have him. Apasmara is a demon dwarf in Hindu mythology, a dwarf-like figure with a child's body and a demon face, sometimes holding a cobra. Best known in the figure trampled under the right foot of Lord Shiva in his Nataraja form, the Lord of Dance, symbolizing the suppression of ignorance, ego, and spiritual forgetfulness. Apasmara represents the unhealthy ego and the demon of ignorance that must be managed to maintain spiritual growth. Apasmara represents avidya, which is ignorance, laziness, and ego. Because he must remain immortal to balance knowledge and ignorance in the world, Shiva keeps him suppressed rather than killed, highlighting that divine wisdom keeps ignorance under control. In Ayurveda, apasmara means loss of consciousness or negation of remembrance, specifically referring to epilepsy. Forgot to turn on the mic. All right, that is all I have for you guys right now. If you guys do want to quickly screenshot this as I go up, I'll go up nice and slow for you guys to stop. Good enough, right? On to the next and lastly. Hopefully this information was good for you guys. You guys see that? I can't see shit. Boom. All right. Done deal. And that's it. If you watched this far, thank you. If you feel so inclined, go ahead and subscribe. I'll be putting more content like this. Next video most likely is going to be all the positive aspects of theodicy. All right, thank you. 40-minute video done.